All right, let's get into our discussion now proper. European Union leaders made a strong show of unity when they formally set tough negotiating guidelines for Brexit talks with the UK.
TVC News Neka Ozadibe takes us through developments leading up to this movement.
All right, let's get into our discussion proper. We'll certainly play that report for you so we can give you the background to how things have been and where we are right now with Brexit and the European Union. We have on Skype now our guest Uche Igwe. He is a senior research fellow at the Sussex University in the UK. Uche, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now.
Yeah, good morning.
All right.
How are you doing?
Yeah, fine. We're okay. Now, make us understand the way negotiations are going. You seem things are going to be stiffer and tougher for the UK in their quest for Brexit.
Well, I think that, like I tried to say, the mood here is actually the mood of elections, and the elections is about Brexit. It's a make or break elections for Brexit. And with the path to Brexit getting very tough, I think that it's an opportunity really for the UK public and the UK voters to, try to make things easy, and that is to vote out the current government and probably get a reversal for the Brexit. Is it going to be easy? No, because the government is talking tough, the Prime Minister is talking tough, and the Labour Party, which is the major opposition party, is not as strong as we would want it to be, or people who want they're not possibly going to put up the kind of challenge they ought to. But again, there's the SNP, the Scottish National Party. Like I stated the other time we spoke, the Scots did not vote for Brexit. And getting towards the next elections, it appears that the Scottish National Party, those who oppose to Brexit, are now pro-independence in Scotland. So who knows? Some of these whole difficulties and in the regulations may just force a swing.
All right, let's look at the guidelines one after the other. Perhaps we should start with that of the one you just mentioned now, the Scots, the island border, which the EU has said must be resolved, between the UK as part of the condition for Brexit. Where do you think the UK will stand here? Well,
it is very clear that the Scots do not want Brexit, and that makes the regulation a very difficult one. And of course, the likelihood is that the opposition coming from the Scots may be really what will be the game changer, if you like, because what people are thinking is that the Scots will ask for another referendum. And the sentiments expressed by the leaders of the Scottish National Party is looking in that direction. That is to say, if ever Brexit succeeds, Britain goes out of the European Union, Scotland will go out of the United Kingdom. So it's a tiger by the tail.
All right, Uche, let's put you on hold and come back to you shortly. But we have to go for the news updates now. And Azizat is already standing by. Azizat, good morning again.
Thank you, Mike and Busolami. Germany says it will double the $76 million it has already pledged to help Somalia cope with the severe drought and hunger threatening millions of people. The promise was made during a surprise visit by Foreign Minister Sigmar Gabriel to the capital Mogadishu on Monday. Somali Prime Minister Hassan Ali met with Gabriel and thanked Germany for its support. The UN estimates that 5 million people in Somalia need aid amid warnings of a full-blown famine. At least 3 policemen were killed and 5 others injured in a shooting by militants in Cairo, the Egyptian capital, late on Monday. The militants drove by and shot down police stationed at an intersection of the Ring Road, a busy expressway in the city's eastern neighborhood of Nasser City. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. But this comes weeks after IS suicide bombers killed at least 45 people in deadly church bombings in Alexandria and Tanta, one of the bloodiest attacks the country has ever experienced in years. Maltese Prime Minister Joseph Muscat has called for a snap general election on June the 3rd, a year before the end of his term. Muscat made the announcement on Monday in response to allegations by a prominent blogger of improper business dealings by his wife. The Prime Minister told a rally of his ruling Labour Party he would ask the President of Malta to dissolve Parliament. Muscat was elected with a strong majority in 2013, and opinion polls in 2 newspapers on Sunday showed Labour leading the opposition Nationalist Party by 4 percentage points. That's all on the news update. For now, back to Mike and Busolami to continue with the program.
Thank you, Azizat, for the updates there.
Okay, so we're still on to Uche.
Yeah, let's get back to our discussions. And you remember we were giving you a background to how we have come this far when it comes to Brexit issues. And the European Union leaders, they made a strong show, we were telling you earlier on. And TVC's Nneka Ozadibe takes us through the development and leading up to this moment.
A referendum to decide whether the UK should leave or remain in the European Union was held on June 23, 2016. That vote showed a clear victory for those in support of leaving the 28-member union, with 51.9% against a 48.1% for those who voted to remain. After that, former British Prime Minister David Cameron announced his resignation, and in came Theresa May, who immediately set the ball of Brexit rolling. She triggered Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty in March, a legal process that signaled the beginning of Britain's withdrawal from the European Union. A month later, EU leaders rose from a 15-minute meeting during a summit in Belgium and unanimously agreed on guidelines on what they believe is a firm and fair negotiating stance on Brexit.
We all want a close and strong future relationship with the UK. There's absolutely no question about it. But before discussing the future, we have to sort out our past.
The UK government had hoped to negotiate a new trade deal with the EU at the same time as carrying out the complex process of ending a relationship that has lasted more than 40 years. But the EU talks tough.
The negotiations with the UK is not easy. Of course, we will have problems, difficulties, but the most important point is the unity of the European Union.
Before negotiating our future relations with the UK, we must first achieve sufficient progress on citizens' rights, finances, and the border issue in Ireland. It is too early to speculate on when this might happen. However, it is important to highlight that it will be for the EU leaders to assess and decide if sufficient progress has been made.
The UK government says it is prepared to deal with the situation at hand after EU guidelines were presented.
We're facing a moment when we have the opportunity to take this country forward, to make it an even better place to live for people, for their futures, a more secure future for people. But part of doing that, is about getting the Brexit negotiations right. And it's important when we go into those negotiations, and we've already seen some of the comments that have been coming out of Brussels, which show that at times these negotiations are going to be tough.
Official talks between both parties are expected to begin after the UK general election on June the 8th. Many EU officials believe transition talks could take between 2 to 5 years. Nneka Ozadibe, TVC News.
All right, that gives us a background there. But we've been talking about this. We still have with us on Skype from the UK, Uche Igwe. He is a senior Research Fellow of Sussex University in the UK. Now, Uche, let's get still to the issue of Scotland and Ireland. They talked about the issue of the borders. They has to be settled and all of that. It is one thing we know that the UK, the interest of Britain is for UK to be together. But going out of EU might not see to UK being together at the end or post-Brexit. What are the people saying? What are the opinions of ordinary people there on the street that you have heard?
Well, like I said earlier, ordinary Scots and even Scottish leaders are very unanimous in their anti-Brexit stance. They expressed it during the referendum. Scotland spoke clearly and eloquently, even on the floor, during the discussions before the Brexit was announced at the European Parliament, that they will go with the EU. So what is very likely here is that there will be a second referendum, to find out the position of Scotland, even though their anti-Brexit position was expressed during the referendum. So there's a likelihood, if you ask me, gauging from the pulse on the street, that the United Kingdom Union is under threat. But whether that will translate into real-time separation is what one cannot say at the moment. Now, the elections in June is a key determinant to whatever that is going to happen. If the Conservative Party, the ruling party, consolidates with a victory in June, which is likely, if you ask me, except the SNP and the Labour Party put their acts together, then it could also change the direction of things. But the way it is now is that with the likely success of Brexit, the United Kingdom and the Union is under threat.
All right.
Yes, that's what I get from this end, and I've spoken to several people, and I think that sentiment is clear. But whether that can be translated into votes is what one cannot say at this time, especially with the Prime Minister talking tough.
Okay, let's look at another guideline, let's look at another guideline that has to do with the right of the citizens, members of the EU who live in the UK and non-EU members who are, UK who live in EU countries, running into about 4.5 million people. How will that be handled?
Well, I think that that is also another difficulty. That's why I said that some of these things were not thought through. Because of how far that the union has been together, that would be immigration would be a very difficult part of this whole negotiations. Like I told you, the cost really, not only in terms of the financial cost, the cost in terms of employment, the cost in terms of immigration is so humongous that the right thing to do is to quietly use the June 8th election to recalibrate the situation. And, if conservatives are defeated, this will be reversed, because I believe that is a tough call. Immigration is a very huge issue. And if you in the United Kingdom here, what you hear is, if you look for somebody from the UK, you don't find, you look for somebody from the EU. So how are they going to handle it? Is a very tough one, if you ask me.
All right, but Uche, do you think some of these tough guidelines are meant to frustrate Brexit technically?
Yes and no. Yes, because the European Union understands the implication on both sides. They understand that, the EU will be stronger together. You can take that to the bank, But again, on the United Kingdom side, I don't think anybody predicted that things will go this way. People ask from time to time, why did the former Prime Minister go to this route? And if you recall, when even after the Brexit announcement was made and the results of the referendum, very many people didn't understand the implication of what they voted for. So on one side, the United Kingdom, you know, in trying to get into some of these agreements, in trying to do all of these negotiations, nobody ever contemplated, you know, an exit, okay? What people were thinking about is to expand the European Union further. So in the process, they signed into some of these things because I believe that some of these negotiation guidelines, you know, are guidelines that the United Kingdom signed on to. Probably not envisaging that a situation like this will come. You know, so it's both sides. Is yes, that the United Kingdom might have entered into some of these, might have been a party to all of this, without thinking that a day like this will come. Yes, also that it is in the interest of the the European Union to stay stronger together, you know, as an important regional bloc, economically and otherwise.
All right, Uche, thank you very much for talking to us on this issue right now.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, let's go on a break and then we come back to dwell on other issues this morning. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.